when I've thought about what should I actually present, it's an interesting title, but just talking about product management on its own, it's already quite diverse. And now having the impact of COVID-19, I thought I have to go to very standard agenda. So first of all, let's define some context, because as we know in product, context matters obviously for everything we do. Second part is, as we know the context, let's do some analysis. And actually, I call it analysis of everything. And I explain in a second what this means. And last but not least, if we have done the analysis, so what are potential actions and how can we use our bag of tricks, our skills that we have as product people to master this situation that we are currently all in. So with that, again, context, I start briefly with the context. Just a few words about me that you know a bit what's my context, where I might have some expertise and where I might have a little bit less. So first of all, my background obviously is in economics, specializing on operations research and commercial information systems. I'm now in product as a product manager since 20 years already. And I started not at SAP. I started in a smaller company, a startup, where I was reporting to founders. I have this experience growing from 40 people to 300. And then already now, almost 14 years ago, I joined SAP. And there I had several positions, and which is in CRM, so customer relationship management. But also I worked for short duration in the IT, in SAP IT, working on product management for internal products to give you a different flavor. And now I'm, since last year, in the position as the head of product for our S4HANA quote to cash and service products. S4HANA being our ERP product, SAP our flagship product. You heard about PMF, what we do. I'm part of the European board there, and especially the Trends and Benchmark report coming out next week, or actually 2 weeks. Have a look. I can only recommend it. I had lots of fun in looking at all the data from more than 2,000 product managers who responded to the survey. Have a look. It's for free, and I think you will find some valuable nuggets in there as well. And besides that, I also worked on my own little methodology how to do holistic product management, and I have a glimpse on that today, but only a glimpse. So if you're interested, look at piper.works. That's it already on me. So actually, what's our real context these days? The real context is we are living in the perfect storm. We are living in a perfect storm in our world, and this perfect storm is the perfect storm of imbalance. So as we all know, change is the new normal, but honestly, I have said the same before COVID-19. COVID-19, in my view, the situation across the world actually is an accelerator. It's a catalyst for very, very much of the trends that were already there. But plus, it also adds a lot to the people itself. And I will talk about it also in a second. So it's also a perfect storm of imbalance, because at the same time, we see that there is way more risks, and currently we focus a lot on the risks, but there's also endless opportunities out there. I'm really totally convinced that, yes, we are currently in a kind of a depression in certain areas, and certain areas could be geography or industry segments. However, it's also there's opportunities, and at the end, it's a situation we are in, which means there will be something after this situation. So the world is VUCA and hyper competitive. So VUCA, I guess you know the term. So volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And my key message here really is the context we are living in is very much, as I said, many of these trends we have seen before. For some of them, we try to ignore, or they were rather small. And others we already were considering in our plans, in our developments. but it's just at the end a situation that we have to analyze. And being in product, we are normally used to analyze, and I come back to this again as well. So one way of analyzing the current situation is that we look at two axes, very classic, and one is what's the extent of the business model disruption? What does COVID-19 do for our products, for our industries, for our consumers, for our buyers? So what is there actually a business model disruption? And yes, to which extent? And the other dimension that we have to analyze and think about is what's the depth and the length of the industry demand disruption? And again, looking at SAP, and you might know, we serve mostly all industries. So there's still some segments we don't, but normally we claim we have products, we have solutions for 25 industries, and in there, basically for everything. And as we analyze the situation for us, it's obviously completely different whether you look into travel industry or airline, or if you look into pharmaceuticals or retail. It's actually a different thing, and therefore you have to analyze your specific situation. And again, maybe not to this extent, but this is nothing new for us in product, right? We analyze the situation always. New competitors, new technology trends, new consumer demand shifts, and so on. Just now, it's all very compromised, and there's also personal impact to every one of us. So the next context is, and that's, I thought about it, do I go into there, but as product management, and the term product manager is used in the industry very wildly and widely, I thought at least I would like to share the context, what's my view on the role of product managers and product management. And I would like to start with two quotes. One is from Gartner, recently, end of last year, who basically stated a capable product management discipline is the most efficient way to improve product success odds and drive sustainable growth. And I still think this quote is very, very relevant. And the second one is more on the role of a product manager. And I guess you all know Marty Kagan, who wrote also his really nice book, Inspired. I can only recommend it to read it. And he stated there basically behind every great product, you will find a good product manager. For me, this is already two very basic statements of what we're actually doing, what we're doing in product. And now, as a product manager, for me, the product in my metaphor is always like little, I used to say a baby, but actually it's not a baby. It's, for me, a little tree, a sapling that we have to work on. And as product managers, we do work on vision, strategy, customer feedback, requirements management, backlog, everything you know. And we do that to help our product, our tree to grow. And obviously, alone, we cannot do that. Therefore, there's the product team with the right mindset. And we have to help the team that they have the right mindset, the product mindset, to make this tree a nicer tree that grows and at the end is successful. Very basic view on what I think is the role of the product manager. So the hard skills, as stated here, certain things you have to do. I have to deliver as a product management function, part of your responsibility. And I know sometimes people have different names, different roles. And at SAP, we have actually, if you talk to 5 product managers who have the title product manager, you might actually find people who do completely different things. But they're all somehow in this space, sometimes just very specialized. So next part there is software product organizations. And again, we are in the context phase. The mission of most product organizations I know is to find and to build and sustainably grow the right product. So product organizations, normally there is the delivery or engineering unit, and there is the business or sales and marketing unit, and product management, as we all know, is somewhere in the middle. And we would like to deliver value to the market and capture value back. And the market frequently is segmented in different groups. So what makes a product right? As we stated, we want to find, build, and sustainably grow the right product. So delivering high value to this defined and sizable market that makes the right product, and helping capturing lots of value back, for example, revenue. Very basic definition, just again for the context, because it's important, especially now in this situation, that we look into this. There's two parts in it, right? One part is the defined sizable market and the market segments that we have to analyze. And the other part is, how do we capture value back to run our business? And out of this context, we have to analyze holistically this situation for our products. What does this mean? So first of all, we have to analyze, did or does the market problem that we solve with our product, or the market problems, does this change, or is it still the same? And that's a very fundamental analysis. Is there still the same problem in the market currently? And thinking backwards, what I shared at the beginning, how long will, if the problem is not there, how long will it not be there? Think about travel industry, which probably is one of the most impacted, or airlines. Currently, obviously, the market problem to get fast from here to there or to have a nice vacation is not that big anymore, because you're not allowed to travel anyway. However, now you have to deal with, do I stick with it? Because I can predict it will go away and people want to travel again. And do I have then the right, do I still serve the right problem, or is there a bigger trend that will change? And then the other hand side is, will the willingness or the ability to pay for your service, for your product change? These are the two most basic questions you have to ask, given what product organizations are all about. Capture value, deliver value. So the issue now is, obviously, we never had a pandemic, at least not in this scale, and at least not for people still living today. So this means we have very limited experience and also very limited data. It's always good to look at data. It's always good to have some experience. And let's go back again to the analysis I shared from the beginning. Now, this actually is from McKinsey as a guideline to how to get to the next stage after the coronavirus crisis. And what you see here again is, if there is, they actually say hardly no one is in this nice sweet spot, which is on this side, where there's no impact on the business model and there is no disruption in the industry demand. Most companies, most people, most product teams will find themselves somewhere here in these four areas. Either there is a likely only situation and the demand disruption will go away over time, but the business model changes dramatically. Then you have to think about, what can we do to shift and to adapt our business model? Or there's the other area here where the business model will be the same or similar. However, the demand disruption will be much longer than expected. It's much deeper and as well. So there is then you have obviously to think about what to do and how to restructure and what you do with your products. And if both hits you, then McKinsey would say, then you seriously have to think about shaping even a new business, because if there is no market anymore for a very long time, and even your business model is not there anymore, then you have to seriously consider pivoting even the whole business. And then I think many companies and products will end up in this area here. That yes, the situation, we have to look into it, we have to analyze it, as I stated before, analyze changes in the problems we solve, changes in the value we deliver, and also changes in the willingness or ability to pay for this. And then make the right tactical decisions on how can we actually overcome this situation. And again, this is one kind where you need to collect data and get data. And I also put in this one, which likely you have seen before. Unfortunately, many of us look at this constantly. And I'm just trying to say with that, there is data out there. And depending on your product, on your business, you can even go down to not just countries, but all different kinds of areas or dimensions, and analyze and try to get data and proof points or help in data to analyze the situation and the extent of disruption and the depth of and length of the disruption for your product and for your business. I try to also come up with some notes, further notes, how we, for example, are looking into it. So analyzing target markets, dimensions. So not every product is the same, and whether you deliver and sell to consumers or to businesses, or your customers, which are businesses, sell to consumers, it's all a different situation that it has to be looked at and analyzed. If you have a product that is available globally, it's a different situation than if your product is very local. Obviously, the impact of where you are is different, and so on. Again, I touched already on travel versus pharma or online retail versus oil and gas. So it really depends on your target markets that you serve. Then, based on the analysis, based on data that you should actually do, and again, I guess we should be prepared, being in product, to do this frequently, analyze our markets and try to get data. Just now, it's all accelerated, and it's a global impact, not just a product isolated impact. But based on our analysis, we have to revisit the company, the product vision, but also the strategy. Likely there will be an impact on all our strategies and roadmaps. And we have to really revisit and also strategize and think about how can we best serve our customers? How can we best sustain our business? Which might be that we change our prices, that we even, as you might have seen, some parts, some companies out there just give away their product currently for free because adoption is more important than the revenue, as an example. So the freemium models get also more prominent these days, I've seen. And as I touched before, revisit the problems that you solve and also revisit the value proposition. Maybe the value proposition for the same product changes currently because the situation is just very different for your customers. And I know this is very generic advice, but it's even more important to do it now. You should do this anyway, even if there is no coronavirus crisis. But now it's definitely worth to get again to this assessment, to revisit everything. Also revisit your team setup, the maturity of the team health, the agility, and the ability to work remotely. And there is a blog, again, from Marty Kaken that I referenced here. Have a look. I think it's really good advice especially on the team level. I didn't go into the team level because I said you can easily read up, but look into it, because also a very important point is this is not about we are all now in home office. This is not the point. For example, SAP, we were actually allowed for a very long time to work from home office, even before the crisis. But now there is no other option. You have to be at home. That's a different situation. And therefore, there might be different tactics required. So again, McKinsey, and I like this chart here as well to explain what I just said in another way. So first part is get a realistic view of your starting position. Do your baseline assessment. Where are you now? Where are you as a company? Where are you with your product? Where are you as a team? Where are you personally? And then, because it's uncertain, because there's so much uncertainty and new information about the situation, about the virus, about the development, is available every day, every hour. Therefore, you have to work with some scenarios and establish already like your broad direction of travel. I would call it vision and strategy. Determine the actions and the strategic moves that are robust enough, so that really the strategy. And the bullet point number 5 here, think about trigger points. So when actually when do you know that now this scenario actually is the most valid one? For example, if you look at certain, you could, for example, if you are more in the consumer business, there is obviously the metrics or KPIs like consumer confidence index. So this is obviously a good trigger point to look into this and look at this kind of data. Or it could be credit card business or transactions increasing. And there's lots of data available. And you have to find for your product, for your context, the right trigger points that fit to the scenarios that you develop. Again, my point here is nothing new being in product management, being in software products. Just now the shift is even deeper and maybe longer, and therefore we have to do this more frequently than we might have done it before. Another part I would like to change here is, yes, the base might change and the market segment might change and the willingness to pay for your product might change, but I'm still convinced that product success, what the requirements for product success are not fundamentally changing. Still, you need to work and deliver a great product, great in multiple ways, technology-wise, but also solving relevant problems for your target markets. And yes, product success is hard. We have to work hard to be successful on the right product success factors. And to make this also clear, product success in the short term is actually simpler, but long-lasting product success requires really mastering not just building a great product. It's actually mastering many dimensions all in parallel. So from the viability, selling the software, and the customer value on it, the development, obviously, yes, but also the go-to-market, product marketing, training, managing market and customer expectations, and with that also organizational maturity. All of that has to be worked on, that the products are successful over the long run. And still, the most important point for me, at least, is that everyone walks in the same direction. And so that everyone can walk in the same direction, it's important that we know where we want to be. Again, product vision and strategy. That is, for me, so important that this is clear to everyone. But as I say, everyone, I think the third time, who is everyone? And everyone actually in product is quite a lot of people. And this is not even a complete list, but there is internal product players, as I named them here, and external ones. And we have to actually analyze the impact of the situation of COVID-19 for all these people. We have to think about and have even more empathy than we might have had before about what's the impact on these people, and based on this, do the right actions, do the right communication. So it's super important to really think about not just the product and the feature and how can we really sell it and continue selling it. Do we have to pivot? It's also thinking about all the people, whether it's customers, whether it's your own people or partners or press or analysts or influencers, it doesn't matter. You know your context, you know who are the product players in your context. But think about how can you help them? What do they need now? Do you need to change with your product? And talking about your product as a whole, not just the code, not just the software, not just the service, with everything which belongs to the product. And then from that, you can also, you will find a lot of information if you analyze that properly. So empathy and clarity really is key at this point. So I stop now for a second and just checking whether there is already questions, because I cannot see the chat window, unfortunately. So is there questions already?
At this stage, no, Timo, we don't have any questions for now. So let's just continue. Guys, please, if you want to ask something, feel free to input your question.
Okay, so what did we do so far? I talked about the context and I talked about analysis of everything. And now next thing is, okay, if we have this context, if we have understood whether our context changes and where we are, and if we analyze the situation, what can we do now? What are the right actions? And how can we use our capabilities that we have? We are, I guess, you're all in product already. And this means you all have a bag of tricks. And how can you use this now? I would like to start with this little picture here, because for me, it's the key point. Your job is lead the product players. So as product managers, our role gets even more important in my view, because the world is VUCA, everything is changing. There's more risk, there's more opportunities, and we have to lead. In order to lead, we have to have clear vision. We have to work out with the team the right strategy based on whatever is available to us. These teams, as you know, this is simple. They have a clear goal. They all can. They don't need a leader. They have the ball. It will lead them to do the right thing. Have fun. However, in product, even before, the situation is more like this, and there's always something more. And actually, no, there is even more stuff going on. This is more the normal product situation. But now these balls even change. So if we now do not do our job, then the team will just have lots of uncertainty, and the product definitely will have an impact on the negative side. So we have to lead. We have to help the team. We have to help all product players. We touched on this, or I touched on this before, so really holistically looking at the product success factors and doing the assessment there. And in my teams, we actually do this anyway, in a certain cadence, every 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the product. But now it's time to do it again and have an impact, as I stated before. I know I repeat myself, but it's just so important to now see how this situation has an impact on all these dimensions. And behind these dimensions, obviously, there's way more details. Whether it's about the pipeline, it's about the profitability of the product, whether it's about if you have something like this, like we have in B2B products, normally there is a consulting, professional service part, which is now all remote. So what's the impact there? What can we do as product people? And basically do an assessment, have an analysis on all these aspects. Or if you look at the organization maturity, do we have still the right processes? Do our processes work if no one is in the office, if no one can travel to the customers? And if not, this can impact the success of the product. So for me, it's obviously a product success factor. Analyzing all of this is essential now. In a second, I show you a tool how to do it and how we come over it. Another part useful soft and hard skills in the situation. Actually, I just changed the headline, obviously, because this is one of the results of last year's product management trends and benchmark report from PMF. And these are were the named most useful skills as a product manager. My point here is you have the skills, they are there. You might need to work on some because no one has everything, but as a team, you have to do this, and you have the skills, and take the situation. For some products, it is a bit simpler. Others are more impacted, as we discussed at the beginning. Key point here for me as well is communication. And there's so many different ways to communicate. And also, again, we communicate a lot. Our product vision, our strategy, our roadmap is ways of communication. We have team communication, we have stand-ups, we have whatever. There's so many ways of communication. Therefore, I wanted to emphasize today, that we have to understand and use communication even better these days. One first statement from my side would be, you cannot over-communicate. And this is a statement that is anyway true, but in these times, it's even more true because data is more fluent, things change more frequently and fast, and the impact is much bigger. Therefore, we have to change, we have to take the product players, the teams with us. And as we do the analysis, as we take the actions, as we adapt to the current situation, this might be also super fast in some areas. And again, we have to keep in mind that just because it's in our heads, because it's in our core team, the others will not know it. There is no coffee corner conversation. There is only lots of indirect and remote communication. So looking at communication on its own, so understanding communication, there's certain circles, and so there is one area, what can we actually communicate? So we can communicate what we know, what we think. This is what we communicate normally. And so out of the whole area that we know and that we think about, that we only communicate a subsegment of it. And from whatever we communicate via, as said, emails, calls, video conferences, team meetings, roadmaps, and so on, people understand even less. And what I communicate to you today, and what you understand, and what you remember tomorrow, will be even less. And this is just normal. This is just whatever we do, think about this model a bit. Therefore, you have to communicate. You have to do it again. Because there is a nice quote, and I don't know the source actually, but I like the quote, that if you start boring yourself, that normally is the time when people understand and remember what you say. So think about that. I think it's an important piece for your bag of tricks, especially in these days. Please communicate with your teams, with your customers. Because only then people understand where you are in your thought process, where you are in your direction. Now, next part of the bag of tricks section is, and I know you likely have seen that, nothing new, business model canvas, lean canvas. I would like to ask you actually, how many of you use this? How many of you have a business model canvas or something alike for your product? This would be super interesting to me. And my point here is, if the problem changes, you might need to go back to T0, so to the first day of your product, analyzing, taking a lean canvas approach or lean startup or any other approach that starts analyzing target customer segments, problems, and what's your value proposition. Again, based on your analysis, this should be part of your bag of tricks. Understanding whether there is still a problem worth solving, whether users want your product, or if this all is passed, how you actually could grow your products faster. I have here the same again, the lean canvas you might know. or the business model canvas. I'm sure you know it, but it just emphasizes the same again, looking at how we create value, how we deliver value, how we capture value. And if there's any change there, it's a good way and a structured way to just analyze your situation and do the right activity out of that. With that, I'm going to what I call Piper, which is the holistic way of managing the products that I basically came up with over the last 20 years, and I shaped it, and I still shape it today. And it's a very basic approach in terms of you first have to understand and structure the product success factors that I touched on before, this little sunburst chart, this little circle with the 6 dimensions and the 31 items in there. And again, as a team, you should revisit this and see whether there is new success factors nowadays, or whether it's still the same, which seems to be the case, at least for my products currently. And then we have to clarify the roles and also define the responsibilities. Normally, this is all there because you are already in a product organization. Again, looking at all the product players, and the situation and the context might change. Have a look. Can people actually do their role? Can they come up with their responsibilities? If they have to do homeschooling today, if their kids are at home, is it possible? How can you help each other? It's just a good way to look at everything that is required for successful products over time, and whether you still, as a team, as an organization, can really deal with it. As I stated, then rate all of this. Rate your product. Assess your product in a structured way along these dimensions and these items, and then analyze. Analyze where you might have a limiting factor for success, where you might have changes, where you might miss data, and really structurally work on your products along this holistic approach. I can only really recommend that this is the holistic picture. The more you know, the better you can react to the situation. Don't do this just once and then forever. Like if the business model canvas, I know some teams that did it once at the beginning and then they forgot about it. But keep these tools close to you. Update them. Not every day, but maybe every quarter, maybe every 8 weeks. And especially on the holistic assessment of your product on Piper, you might do this now even more frequently, depending whether your product context changes. So Piper, as I said, the holistic view is for product managers, but also for product teams and for manager of product teams to see, which is in my case important to see, what's the same pattern across my teams, across the products, and how can we actually work and identify these patterns and have impact for more people. Touched on that before, so we define the success factors. We also see whether they still have the same weight as before, and we build like best practice or proven practices to deal with success factors. We bring the whole team together. It's not so, let's say the whole team. It's not only product managers and owners and developers and architects and designers. Actually, it's everyone who has impact on the product. Could also be sales, services teams, everyone involved. And then on that, we do normally quarterly, currently a bit more frequently, rate all the success factors. And we concentrate on the ones who need the most improvement, the most limiting factors of the success. And we create tasks, obviously, very standard, and try to fix this until the next assessment. And then we have bi-weekly or weekly check-ins and discuss the progress. No rocket science, but a very pragmatic approach that we do for a long time. But even especially these days, we see that this way of holistic assessment and focused approach helps us to deal with the situation, because we are used to look at many dimensions at the same time and work together as a holistic product team. With that, I want to thank you for your time already, and that you actually take the time in your evening. And I know it's hard, and I know listening to now, I don't know how many, 45 minutes is hard. So thanks that you actually joined and you care about product. And so my key takeaways are really take a holistic approach and take the time with that to understand your starting position. And analyze, monitor and analyze the external impact on your starting position, which is not in your control, but also analyze the internal impact, which is in your control. Maybe use Piper if you're interested, and or any other thing that helps you to holistically understand where you are with your product. What's your starting position? And I said, act on uncertainty, try to get data if possible, work with assumptions and scenarios, work on the weaknesses even more. So analyze and act and monitor and analyze again. And holistic approach includes not just the product, it includes, again, your context, the people, product players, everyone, and shorter intervals really help. Second part is leverage and adapt your bag of tricks. And you might need some more tricks these days, some more soft skills, some more hard skills. But remember, communication is key. Empathy is key. So stay human and try to be the best product leader you can really be. It's especially now super important, and it will build lots of trust with the team if you're now showing your best. And last but not least, it's a bad situation, but it's only a situation. We will get through this. We will get over this. It will take a bit of time, but in a year from now, we will be in a better situation, and we have to find the right way for us, for our products, for our teams, for ourselves, for our families through this. And as said, it's only a situation, hard situation, but we'll get through this. With that, thank you very much.